Hey guys, this is Finn, and I'm here to teach you how the pros play Skye and Split. This video is going to be a lot about how to play three different spots on CT side split or defense side split, and how to actually take those spots on attack side as well. It'll be a lot about focusing on maximizing the impact of your utility to gain an advantage on the enemy team. And without further ado, here we go on to our first topic, which is ramp. Skye is very good at ramp because a lot of times you're going to end up in a situation where you're playing against a Cypher, right? And he's caging this off, or you're going to be playing against a Viper that has a wall from here to like over here, and it blocks off all of this line of sight. It blocks off this line of sight. It blocks off this line of sight. And then if it's a Cypher, it'll block off this line of sight and this line of sight, right? So you're going to know if they pop the cages or they pop their Viper wall, you're never going to know if they're there. And sometimes they'll even omen smoke this if they don't have a Viper wall here, because sometimes people want to have their Viper wall at B, but we'll get into that later. And you, as a Skye player, are pretty much number one in charge of finding out if they're there, because your flash can go really deep, right? Get info. Your dog can be used to also get info, right? Skye is also very good at contesting this space. If she starts lower, she's very good at abusing the wall to your advantage, which is like pop flashing to the wall if they're all walking behind it. Or she's very good at dogging from here and getting very deep information, right? So say you have a jet and you want to get her posted up deep for a deep line of information to allow your team to stack elsewhere. So she'll get posted on this line with an op. Make sure you break the trip with your dog, right? Hopefully there's like the only place that this person can be is like right here. And your jet will be like posted on this angle so that she can, so that you can rotate and you can go do something else that's useful, right? Those are like the main uses of Skye here. She also sometimes serves as an anchor. And she's very good at anchoring because she can also call for cages or call for smokes at this area. And she can abuse the angles here to actually flash for herself. Like, see, she'll flash right here. It doesn't blind her, but it'll blind anybody in front of her. And it's like really easy, as well as doing this. Like, it's very easy to abuse a Skye flash at a site in general. You can do it here too. And you just end up with like some free kills sometimes if you're playing correctly. The biggest now I'm going to go into how to do these things, and when to do these things is very important, right? So as a Skye, before you used to be able to chuck a flash or whatever, because your Skye flash used to come back, but now it doesn't because of the nerf. So you need to make sure that you're maximizing each piece of utility and you're using it for a reason, okay? Sometimes, depending on... So we'll just start with who's playing here, right? You're gonna get info based on their wall pops or their Cypher cage pops, right? And if you're playing with like two people here, so say you have like a Raze and an Omen, probably. What a lot of teams do is like they have their Raze and Omen up here, and they'll be contesting this choke very heavily, right? It's very different whenever you have 3 agents here versus 2 agents here, like Skye and Cypher or something. The way you play it is very different. So if you have 3 people here, you want to be contesting this map control and forcing them off so that you can take advantage of this orb, right? And you make them burn more utility with the numbers that you have. Because you don't want to have 3 people here doing nothing. Because if you have 3 people here doing nothing, then you're not getting any value out of the agents. And you're allowing them to understand that there's a gap here and a gap at B. So you need to make sure you're actually getting used to the agents, and as a Skye, it's your job to kind of direct that and understand when to do these things. So when a Skye player, whenever a Viper player is going to be popping her wall to lurk, right? You kind of want to let your teammates know, hey, they popped wall. They'll probably know that they popped wall, right? And you're going to say, well, do you guys want to fight or do you not want to fight? And then if they want to fight, then you can dog, and your Omen or Raze can have their nade or blind out, and then they can nuke anybody that's sitting on this orb, right? And then if you even want to do that, if you clear it, right, that's if they're there. If the enemy's here, then you use your util, you use more util to actually contest the space and force them off so that they have a really hard time getting onto site. And then if they're not here and you're not trying to contest a space, like say you just see like a cipher back here or whatever, you want to make sure you honestly smoke this deep and get an orb. Get the orb either on you or Raze. I think those are the two most powerful ults, and it just really depends on how close somebody is or like what your team wants to do with certain ults, right? And what they find more beneficial. There's no real right or wrong, right? So once you establish this map control, right, then you can tell your teammate to leave, right? You can tell your teammate to leave. And in the situation that you actually do get forced off, and there's a lot of people here, and you actually don't win a util battle or whatever, most of the time you're going to end up anchoring on site, and this is where you're going to be calling for smokes right here, or you're going to be calling for a cage pop or whatever, so that you can actually play around it and make the round as annoying as possible for the other team, because Skye is actually pretty good at fighting for site, right? So that's the situation where you have three people here, right? The other and you're contesting all this space. The other situation you'll end up in is usually you'll have like maybe another person here, just one person here, like a cipher or whatever. And the main reason you want to play here is to clear out lurks, right? No matter if you have a cipher here and you have a trip here, most of the time you're not going to be the one that's rotating, depending on what your team wants to do, and you're going to be actually helping to re-clear the lurks a lot of the time, because cipher can't get info past the walls. A lot of the good Vipers will like pop their wall and they'll walk close to the wall so they don't get spotted with a cam, or they will or they'll like walk up and break all the util and all that stuff. And it's your job to make sure they know that that's not possible, because they always have to worry about you clearing them, and you like just making their job annoying, right? They can't get up for free. They're never gonna get a kill on you because you always know they're there. So most of the time you're gonna start off here, right? You start off here, just spotting, and then once you see somebody, or once you see the Viper wall pop, that's your cue, right? You want to wait like a couple seconds, make sure, what a lot of Vipers make the mistake of is they pop the wall and they don't make it long enough so that they could have walked past, so they'll like pop the wall and then instantly drop it. So you want to make sure that they pop the wall long enough that you have to worry about them going ramp, right? So if you want to find out if they're ramp and they pop the wall or whatever, then and they drop the wall and you don't really want to peek it dry, you just send your Skye flash and you get info about whether or not they're there. Okay, and then if they're there, then you try to communicate to your teammates, okay, yo, there's somebody up ramp, or say you want to get your teammate to come with you, like you get a Cypher to come up with you, and then you'll dog him out, and Cypher's just walking up, and you guys kill him, right? Like if you know he's alone. Another thing that you can do is like, instead of doing that, you can just end up honestly fast dropping and just go run at this guy. If you know he's alone and your teammates are coming, there's like 3 mid or something, most of the time you can assume that he's alone and then you just go together. Alternatively, you can just have your Cypher start up here with you if you know that this Viper's been lurking up the past couple rounds, and you guys can just go double clear him with a dog or a flash. Like say the Viper or Cypher popped the wall, right, and you just want to punish this guy, pop flash, clear him, and just get him out of this area and force him to like, you can either choose to run him down if you know he's a free kill, like if you know if he's in this corner. I think it's very good to force him off, and then it's also very good to do that whenever, like, setting up a trap is also very good no matter what agents you have here. Like if you want to let them burn all their util to take ramp and then pop flash through the wall here with like a Raze rocket or even an Omen blind sometimes, I think that's very good as well. It just varies depending on what you want to do and what your team wants to do. Okay, so those are the situations where you're either fighting for a ramp with 2 agents, or you're playing passive with just Cypher, right? And then once you know, those are the instances where you know that they're there and you want to help a ramp. And then if they're coming, so say you start Heaven, right, and you have your Cypher on site, you have the option, like a lot of the time you're just going to be pivoting between these 2 spots, right? Because it's where you can actually do a lot here, because if they come out A, they rush A, right? You can use your flashes, you can abuse the smokes that they throw, in order to actually get free kills. So like say your Cypher is on site, right? They're coming out. I'm sure many of you have been in this situation before. One of them hits a trip. You wait for them to hit the trip or try to hit a trip, get a spam kill or something, and then you can pop flash off of your a trip contact or a trip break, or you can pop flash off of like your Cypher contact. It depends on what you want, and you can also like use sound cues to your advantage, and you just pop flash to the smoke, right? And then you just kill anybody who's blind, and then who's not blind, and then kill the blind people after, right? So it's really important to understand that you can also help your site teammate anchor, and that's a very big part of Skye's kit too, and that's why she's played a lot at these angles, because she's just very good there. And then the other thing is, if they go up heaven, you can also play over here. You can call your Omen to smoke the choke or whatever, and or your Viper to pop her wall if she has a wall here, and it'll allow you to just focus on this, or you can tell your Cypher to hold heaven from sight, and you're just focused on this, right? So like it'll just allow you to do a lot of things. And then if you have somebody in ropes, right, and they smoke this, or you have a wall here, right, then you can peek off of them. You can flash off of them if they're holding right here. So say your Viper is playing right here, right, and they're holding for this person after the wall goes down, and she burned a molly, right? They're still intending to come here. You pop flash off of her contact or whatever in a way that won't blind her, and then you're just fighting and killing anybody that she's taking contact on, right? So you can help both of these areas depending on the situation, if they go ramp or if they go site. And then that's if they come A, right? If they come A, I think it's easy. And then if they don't, and you're just trying to deal with the lurk, obviously we talked about clearing them out with dog, using a teammate, and using your util to actually get the lurker out of a good situation where he's like all the way up and looking for a kill, right? And then another thing is that you don't really, depending on what your team is doing, so say you're playing retake A and both you and your Cypher up here, you don't really want to use your dog for this, unless you can guarantee a kill, because the dog is very important in actually like helping your retake and or baiting out utility. So like a lot of teams will counter util whenever you're trying to retake, like they'll throw a molly whenever they hear your dog, and it's going to be a little bit harder to retake. So you use a dog, you make them burn it, and then you have your Cypher pop this cam after, so you have info, and they can't counter utility anymore. So that's like another reason you want the dog, because the dog is scary. Dog is bad for the other team a lot of the time. And yeah, so that's why you kind of want to use Skye flashes and use your teammates' bodies with your flashes to actually clear out lurks if you want to. And sometimes if you need to, if you don't plan on playing retake at any of the sites and you're trying to anchor or whatever and like play the util trading game at mid, then feel free to use your dog if you need to, or if you have Skyle, it doesn't matter. Just make sure you always have a plan with your dog, and you can guarantee a kill if you're using it mid round. So those are instances where they go up a ramp or up a site. And then if there's nobody here, right, you've done your job, you cleared lurks, you've, like, for example, you've dogged all the way down, you cleared all this info, you know that nobody's here, right? Make sure you clear the corner. You know that nobody's here. You tell your teammate, yo, or you heard, even more, you heard like somebody go sewers and they're going towards mid. You let your teammate know, hey, I'm leaving, I'm going to go help mid, right? Because your teammates are calling that there's like a little bit of noise mid, and you heard somebody leave, and you're ready to help mid, right? So a lot of the benefit of Skye is that she can actually abuse the attacker smokes to her advantage, because a lot of the times you're going to run into the situation where this is smoked off or this is smoked off, and depending on where you started in the beginning of the round, you're going to be like flashing out to fight here, and or you're going to be getting info mid round. So say like there's a lot mid, your Viper successfully sold them off, right? I need to know if anybody's at mid. Then the Skye flash is also good for info flashing right here, and is also very good for fighting in the situation where you want to punish anybody for coming through the orb, or punish anybody in the open because your Viper dropped her orb, right? Or you want to punish anybody that is trying to take advantage of the smoke or get value out of the smoke they threw, and you're just pop flashing out of the smoke and killing them, right? If you do, it's really good if you do this with a teammate. Always, whenever you're contesting map control and aggressively fighting for something, you want to be doing it with a teammate. So in ranked, it's going to be a little bit hard unless you have a duo or you have somebody that's cooperative in your game. That's like you want to ask a lot of the time. You want to say, "Hey, do you want to fight this, or does anybody want to fight this with me?" And then that's when you can go to that's when you can go into, "Hey, we're gonna fight this," and if you have somebody that can fight with you, then you're fighting with them. Okay, never alone. You're never really fighting alone unless you're man down. When you're man down, then it changes a little bit. Another point I wanted to make is that whenever you're fighting aggressively for like a ramp and stuff, you want to make sure you're grabbing the orb. You're not just using all this util for no reason, right? And you want to grab the orb and actually like just get value out of your util in whatever way you can. And make sure you're using your util for a reason. That's going to be like a big thing I'm going to keep repeating is you want to have a plan for every piece of util that you have, because if you don't, so say like say the util, each you have three pieces of util, right? The dog, Skye, and two Skye flashes and an ult, right? That's four opportunities to get kills in a round, in a single round if you have ult, and then three on a normal round. So if you don't have ult, you have three opportunities to make a fight very easy for you or a teammate, and you have to think of it that way, because once you don't have that, then you have to take dragon fights, and it's just not as easy to get kills, right? Utility makes fights easier. So that's when those are the scenarios when you start A and then you end up going towards you end up in the different situations that I described, and then once you feel like nothing's going on at A, right? Just to recap, once you feel like there's nothing going on at A, you just go mid and you go help your team, right? You just want to make sure you're always doing something, always staying active, always gaining info and directing your team based off the info you're getting, and just being very active in the round. So the next part we're going to get into is at B main. A lot of the time, so we talked about the Viper lurk wall here at A, as well as cipher cages here. A lot of the time, some teams are going to be throwing lurk util at B, and they're going to be throwing this Viper orb that covers this entire line of sight. And a lot of the only way you can actually clear the info is to heavily contest the map control. And sometimes some teams do this with not Skye, or without Skye, but I'll just use the example where Skye is actually used to fight here. And she can, a lot of the reason people put Skye at B is because of this util here, and they don't really want to put their cipher here for whatever reason. So say they have a set retake for A based on certain ults they have, and they just want to use the ults like a Skye ult or whatever, and they're just reclearing B. Her kit here is pretty self-explanatory. It's not as complicated because the orb is like here. It's very hard for it's very hard for defenders to actually contest this safely. So you usually have to burn a smoke to contest it, and then she can counter util if they run in, right? She's flashing, or if they're running in, they're dogging, right? And she's clearing all this info and then getting her teammates set up. And a lot of the time, she's going to be here setting somebody up, and then sometimes leaving if she's leaving two people here, or she'll be one of the people staying here to fight for the map control if needed, right? And she can dog super deep if they make noise and then there's nobody here. You break the trip. Make sure that whenever you're dogging deep like this, you're always breaking the trip, because it forces them to worry about the possibility of somebody walking through both at A and B, and it's very important to do that, because any additional thing that they have to worry about can cause a timing for you to take advantage of, because they have to watch something, right? You have to keep in mind that somebody, like the highest level of players, are going to be very aware of every possibility, and if they think somebody's going to flank them, they have to check that every now and then. So abusing that is very good. Another advantage to having Skye at B is that she can help mid a lot. Just the same thing at A. She's in these rotator spots where she can actually help like two very important parts of the map, and she can help mid. So same thing, just at male. If you see a smoke here, right, and you want to fight for it, you have a teammate in vents or ropes, whatever you call it, and you have another teammate here, male. Abuse a smoke, flash. Don't let it go that far. You kind of want to let it go like right out of the smoke and pop it, and then you're just contesting the map control, right? Alternatively, you can start male and actually like, if you don't know if they're there, right, and you don't really have anybody to help you here, you want to find out if there's anybody here, or you want to find out if there's anybody like deep in ramen, whatever people call that. You can get info by using a Skye flash there, and then jiggle peek this angle, right? Or jump spot this angle, because sometimes people will be there and they'll be hiding from the flash, and then you're just clearing deep to know if they're in mid at all. And then that's when you can be like, well, I'm going to go either stack B or A based off the noise you're hearing, and you're just using the information that you're getting to give yourself an easier round. So at B main, same thing as at A, you're like either getting a teammate posted up, you're rotating, and you're helping other sides of the map. You're just a very active person, and you're always trying to do something and be proactive in the round. Okay, alternatively, sometimes you're not going to start at B main, you're going to start at mid, and it's the same thing that I just explained. Like, you're either fighting mid, contesting it with an ult or a dog, or you're either starting here, right, and you're just getting information late round about what's going on, right, and then you can use that to rotate easily if you don't get a ping, and you have to understand that people can hide from it and walk up. So understanding that timing is very important, and then using that information to make your rotates faster, or just like create a flank that you wouldn't have before because you cleared it, is like very good too. Another thing I want to talk about is just directing in general. Whenever you're doing these things, it's very important to say, hey, we're going to do this now. 3, 2, 1, go. I'm dogging now. 3, 2, 1, go. And then you tell your duelist to follow. It's very important that you have people actually following your util. And I think that segments nicely into the next part of the video, which is talking about retakes. So say your team decided to give up A because you have Skye Dog, you have Skye, or you have a Razel, and it's going to be really easy to do so. So say they plant for heaven, right? You saw them plant here, you know the bomb is right here. A lot of the time, they're going to be playing for ramp, okay? Or they're going to be playing to get into heaven, or they have somebody late lurking mid. So you want to kind of clear ramp a lot of the time. You dog, you have somebody holding your ropes, you have another person following your dog, you're clearing all this info, you're getting info about where they are, because letting your dog will tell you where to put your util or your teammate's util in a way that no other piece of util can, because you can clear all these angles that are very hard to clear if you're just clearing them normally, and you don't have to take any real risk, right? So your teammate can safely follow the dog and decide where to use the util. It's very important that whenever you're retaking, that you're directing the retake. You need to say, hey, we're going to retake ramp now. Please follow me. I'm dogging now. Let's go. Okay? And then you're using flashes to make situations harder, clear angles that you wouldn't clear, right? Say you're smoked off here on a retake. Very good to just go in and just go crazy. Don't be afraid to go in once you use all your util, and make sure you're healing people whenever you get to the end of the round, right? For retaking, so say they didn't plant for heaven, right? And they actually planted back here. You can abuse that by going screens on a retake and just dogging out here instead, and just punishing this guy, right? And having your raid like your raise like nade right here, while your dog is going here, so they just have nowhere to hide. Or you have your Viper Molly here, and then you have a nade here. It's just like, it's very hard to deal with if you know exactly what they're doing, what their plan is. Because if they're playing here, a lot of the times they have to play on site in order to defend that bomb. And it's very hard if you know how to counter those two things. So, for example, if you are coming out B, right? I think the best place to dog out of is here. You have to think about what the angles are for the enemy, right? A lot of the time, the dog cannot get spammed that easily if a main is smoked off, right? Because nobody's going to be peeking these angles, and it's going to be very easy for you to get the dog out and get value. Sometimes there'll be a guy sitting here, but if he's sitting here, then that is an easier kill for your teammate, following the dog. And then dog is also very good at actually like forcing anybody to show their hand here. They don't really want to sit in this corner, because if the dog sees them, whenever you're clearing a ramp like this, you can just jump at him and it's very hard for him to react, and then he has to shoot the dog or your teammate and he's just dead. And I think that's it for retaking A. I think retaking B is a little bit simpler, and you honestly just dog out. Sometimes you have like a retake cage right here, and you just clear all the spots that your teammates need to worry about. Sometimes you can choose to go backside, or you can choose to clear hell, right? And you clear new box, and then you have your teammates nuke backside with like a nade just in case, or you can clear the map control like this, right? And yeah, or sometimes you can have your teammate, like if your teammate knows a molly for here, it's very helpful. Or if your teammate has a cage here or a cage here, it helps your dog actually take space. And sometimes you can call for a smoke at either one of those things to make your retake easier. Another benefit of Skye is like whenever, if you're playing to flood, if you're playing to flood in the same way you flood a heaven, right? By flashing through the smoke, you abuse the smokes to your advantage, and you just flash out of the smoke. You go out, you help your site anchor, and you just need to make sure you don't hesitate in these situations. You have to make the plan beforehand. And you need to say, "Hey, I'm going to flood now. Okay, you're on site. I'm going to flood." You have to make sure you're actually helping your teammate and not letting him die alone. And sometimes there's nothing you can do about it in ranked. You know, we all been there. But you want to make sure that you're making his bad play better by actually helping him a lot of the time. Or, you know, you don't really want to argue with people in ranked. I feel like that's just a straight up loss. So I feel like the best way is to learn how to support your teammates, especially whenever you're playing initiator, because if you can support a bad teammate doing bad things, you're going to be able to support a good teammate doing good things. I feel like it'll be way easier for you in a team environment. So that was defense in general. Now we'll be moving on to attack. On attack side, it's the same. It's kind of the same idea. It's just, in my opinion, a lot simpler because you can decide what you're doing and how you're going to do things. So you're going to go into taking ramp, right? A lot of the time, you're going to have a cipher cage, or you're going to have a viper wall that blocks off all of these things, right? It goes from here all the way to over here, and unless you lurk up, it blocks off this line of sight, and all you need to do, in my opinion, is throw a flash up here around, right? And you can use that flash for two different things. You have to make sure, one, it gets all the way around the corner. It's good to practice that because you don't want to, like, if you have a teammate going up with it, say you have a Raze or a Jet dashing or satcheling across, and they're going in with the flash, right? It should be popping around the same time they're peeking this angle, and then it lets them peek this angle too if they have a Viper wall here or an Omen smoke here blocking this area off. If it pings, it'll tell you, okay, so there's two ways to do this, right? You either have nobody following it and you're just getting info about what their setup is, or you have somebody following it. And this will tell you whether or not you need to burn util in certain situations. So if you send the Skye flash up there and it pings, it says blinded, right? And you have your Viper wall pushed up or put up, then that'll tell you to burn more util a lot of the time if you're not going here. Sometimes if they have op money, you kind of want to just burn the dog straight up and you don't want to waste a flash, right? If they don't have op money though, then you can just jump spot and understand that you're getting info like this and it's not completely safe, and then you have your teammate high-low peek this angle and you're just killing anybody if they're peeking aggressively, right? You have to be aware of this, and you have to make sure you're utilizing your cipher cage or your Viper wall timing to actually get up with the piece of util you just burned, because after a certain amount of time, this flash did nothing. Okay, if you wait too long to get up here, they can walk in, they can be in a setup that's crazy, and you have to make sure that you're actually getting value out of your util. Again, same thing as in defense side, you need to get value out of your util on attack side. So once you get all the way up here, that's when you can decide to, if they don't have an op, right, then you can dog from here and get even more information and set yourself up for an A split. Keep in mind that there's usually going to be a cipher trip here or a cipher cam here, and somebody's probably going to be running in through here, okay? So your teammate has to be aware of that, and they have to understand that even though you looked at it when you ran past, that this person can actually go up after the dog went by and punish them, okay, for not being aware of it. So you have to let them know that. Or once you clear ramp, right, it's very hard to hit A without having ramp control, because they can just pinch you very fast if they catch you lacking and not clearing any of this map control. So you want to kind of clear ramp so they can't pitch you super fast, and then you actually dog out for your Jet or your duelist. You tell them where you're going, right, with your dog, and you clear all the map control so that they have an easier time going in. and you just get a lot of info. And then making sure that you throw flashes that don't blind your teammates whenever you're going out. It's very important that you wrap the flashes or you send them high. It's a lot easier if you have a smoke because your teammates won't have to turn from it or whatever, and you just go in, okay? Making sure that you're following your jet. As a Skye, you're you're usually going to be like the third or fourth person in because of your dog, or I guess like on attack side, you can either be the third person in or the second person in. So if you're not dogging, you're going to be flashing. You're just going to be going one side, holding one thing, and you're going to be like pathing in, holding what she's not holding, right? And being ready to trade, okay? Or you're going to be pathing like this and pinching with her. Either one of those two things is very important. Just understand that you're covering up what your teammate isn't holding or clearing, and you are ready to trade what she is clearing, right? So say if she's clearing, she's pathing like this, you're following her, making sure you're watching this while she's watching this, and then you're ready to trade, and your spacing is very good. The other thing I wanted to talk about is when you're dogging, right? You kind of just want to like dog, right? You're going to be the third man in usually because you have other people following your util, and then you kind of just want to like understand where your teammates have cleared, what's safe, what's not safe, and throw flashes or util. Either you're going to be running out and trading them because you know that they're standing in the open or they're right here, or you're going to be flashing them because your teammate is undercover. Like say your teammates got all the way out to sight and somebody's running out heaven in the time that you got off your dog, right? Then you can throw flash to blind them and your teammate can peek with it, okay? And understanding that after you get off your dog, you have to worry about this. If your teammate isn't fully watching it, you have to worry about this and understanding what that means for you if you don't have a teammate, right? So if you don't have a teammate, you got off your dog, you don't have a teammate watching a ramp, you need to make sure that you're watching this and aware that somebody can flank you. A lot of the time you're going to end up in this position where you're just like playing posts and you kind of have to either one, like just sit here, and usually you're going to be using all of your util on T side, and in post you're just a body to trade off of or whatever. So being in this spot where like somebody's screens can swing off of you is really good, and yeah, it'll help a lot. So that covers up ramp, right? You kind of want to just use your flash to get info, your first flash to get info, and then once you understand that they're not contesting it, be sure to try and save it and try to get greedy after a certain point. And then you want to use your dog. If they don't have an op, you want to use your dog to take sight or take deep a heaven. And then if they do have an op, just feel free to, if they have op money, then just feel free to burn the dog early because it's always better safe than sorry. Like you're never going to get up ramp if your teammate just dies because he peeked into an op. So that covers up the A side of the map. Now going mid, a lot of the time you're going to start over here because I feel like the Skye Flash blends a lot more angles that are relevant, and it's a lot safer to actually get out at this spot of the map. And it's just going to be the same thing, right? On a general mid take, you're going to be smoking either here or here, and then you're going to be Skye flashing in order to get info. So if they smoke male, if your teammates smoke male, you're going to be Skye flashing here in order to find out if anybody's in vent, right? And find out if you need to burn more util. If the Skye flash does not ping, you kind of want to just go up and walk up and try to get away with going all the way up. A lot of the times Vipers will pop their orb, and sometimes you have to wait, and that means they're contesting it, right? So they'll pop their orb, their molly, and a lot of the time you're going to have to burn more util, but sometimes you can beat that timing that they do that if you cleared vents and you know there's nobody there, and you can walk all the way up and get vents for free, right? Make sure that once you understand, you and your teammates understand that after you pop this flash, there's a timing where they can walk in, and just be aware of it, that if you took too long, you have to double peek this and double clear it, and then you have vents, right? So vents is really good to have because you can leave somebody in here, and this person at ramp as a defender has to worry about a lot of things, right? So think about being in this position as Skye on defense. If you have to worry about this too, you almost feel like you have to play on site, or you have to give a heaven, right? So if you have to give a heaven, like you have to run out and flood through spawn, which is honestly not that good because a lot of teams just spam it or they have somebody holding it safely and they're just throwing util there. So you kind of want to avoid that a lot of the time, and it just forces that guy to do that very bad thing, and they always have to worry about the threat of somebody coming here, right? So you get into vents, and it's just very good, and you run into the issue where sometimes you have to burn a little bit more util, but burning a little bit more util to get into vents is very good. It's okay because getting this piece of map control allows you for way more options than just hitting a site, right? So if they're contesting heavy mid, so we went over the scenario where the Skye Flash does not ping, right? The Skye Flash pings, right? You see somebody, your teammate sees somebody on a jump spot, like say they're jump spotting over here, you're jump spotting here, you see somebody and they saw you, they saw a raise, right? Then feel free to actually burn your dog and try to go up after they burn a molly or the Viper orb, right? Because you're actually taking the space from them if they're not using counter util properly, and it makes the round super hard for them if they lose mid control. It forces them to not know whether or not you're trying to split A, trying to split B, depending on what's going on. So just make sure that if this is contested and you get Skye Flash ping, feel free to use more util, and make sure you tell somebody to follow your util. That's the biggest thing I'm going to keep harping on. You need to have a duelist following your util at all times, because wasted util is very bad. You want to get max value out of your util. Okay. So a lot of the time you're going to be... So going into mail, right? Say you smoke vents and you want to get info here, right? A lot of the time you can actually just send your raise up. Like your raise will be walking up. You'll be like, hey, I'm flashing mail for you. You flash mail if you smoke vents. And then your raise can peak with that, right? And then you get up into this point. A lot of the time you'll get into this point. Sometimes there's a guy here. This is a one and done angle, so he's probably trolling if he's playing here. I'm like personally salivating if he's playing this angle because it's a free kill for me. But if you get up to here and you haven't needed to use your dog, then you can use your dog here, and it's just like so annoying to deal with as a defender. Because like this dog is just, the green dog is just running at you, and it'll allow your teammates to take space deeper than you had to. And I think a lot of taking space on Skye on attack side is like understanding when to use your util and when to not use your util. And that'll just come with time and understanding like, okay, well, I don't think this guy's going to play here anymore because like we kind of just shit on them a couple times. So I'm just going to save my dog and I'm going to use it deeper. And you're probably going to lose a couple rounds like trying to understand when that happens and when people change like that. But it'll be very beneficial for you later on. Now that those are the two options at mid. So going to B as an attacker, it's not that hard to take, okay? Unless they like burn a smoke and burn a lot of util here, you spawn at an advantageous angle, and the only thing that can really contest this angle very well is like a jet opping, and a lot of the times that's not even good against good players because they're just going to be pre-aiming and they'll just get shit on, right? So you can kind of walk in and abuse your Skye util, the fact that you don't have to burn util to actually get into B main and use it all for sight, right? So your role as a Skye on this B hit, because Skye ace or B site is like has so many nooks and crannies to clear, using a dog at site is very important because you have to clear everything. You clear this, you clear hell, you clear back site, right? And then the only thing that's left is this back corner, and most of the time your duelist is going to have that, right? So most of the time you're going to be dogging. Sometimes you're going to be, if you have a Viper wall here or you have some piece of util, you're going to be dogging straight through, clearing this back site, and then just clearing like this, and you don't have to worry about how. It just really depends on what util you have and what the plan is. But in general, you're going to be dogging and clearing whichever path. Hopefully your duelist is following your dog. It's very important that no matter where you take the dog, your duelist is following it, okay? And then once you get out, then your role is to flash your other teammates out, right? Because your duelist is out, you use a dog to get them out. Actually, you can do the other thing. If you don't have a dog, right? Say you use it at mid, you can actually just have your duelist dash or satchel out, and you just flash around the corner like that. Or your duelist can, you can flash around the corner like this, and your duelist is like just flying out like this, right? He flashed out, satchel to this box. He's like clearing this angle or whatever, and he's getting value out of your flash if you don't have a dog to hit. right? And the same thing at A site, you just isolate angles. Like you have to section parts of the map off in order to proceed to, like, the problem that I see a lot of people make is they try to do too much at once, and you have to focus on getting this piece of map control right. You get this piece of map control right, and then you go here, you wait for your teammates to gather up, and then you go here, and you flash for back site, right? Or back pillar. And then you, once you're all here, say your teammate, your duelist has like been sitting here for a little bit, waiting for somebody to like try to run away from you guys, running over there. Then you pinch this backside guy, right? Like you guys are pathing like this. Somebody's watching heaven, ideally, and then you guys are pinching backside, and you cleared it. Then you're in this. Well, you've ideally used all your util, and then you're just like you're playing the cross guy a lot of the time, or sometimes you're sitting over here with one flash because you find out the site was clear whenever you're dogging, and you're flashing for their retake. So those are the different ways to take B site. I'll talk about the Skye ult. I think the Skye ult is very good at mid or A ramp because B is not as strong because the dogs are always going to go in one direction and give you almost no info about what is going on with the enemy team. And then a lot of the time, if you force them off mid, the Skye ult is very good at telling you where to go because it goes to the 3 closest people. So if you ult in a spot that's like advanced, right, or like far up, it'll tell you how many people are on site, how many people are rotating, and it'll tell you if a site is good to go, right? I think the best example of this is at A. A lot of the time you can get up ramp using the util we described earlier. You can pop your ult, and then if 2 go site, and then there's like, if 3 go towards site, like there's going to be one person here, and like one person here, or one person here, then you kind of just don't want to go to A because there's 3 people there. You're just going to get shit on. You just go to B through here. You just go to B and abuse the info that Skye is giving you. And the same way, you pop it here, right? You find out there's 3 people on site at B. You kind of just don't fuck with it, and you just go split A instead. And then, obviously, if there's only one person in screens off the Skye ult and the other jellies are going here and here, then you can pretty much assume that you can take A for free. It's really important to use a Skye ult to fight and make sure that people are actually following it, okay? Make sure you're not only using it in situations where you want to get a kill, but you're using it in situations where you want to get information. It's very strong because of the information you get from the ult. And then just make sure, last note, make sure that when you're taking all these pieces of map control, that you're getting the orbs when you can, okay? The orbs will stack up a lot. If you get more orbs than the other team, you're going to have more ults than the other team. And then if you have more ults than the other team, you have more free rounds than the other team. So, yeah, just keep that in mind whenever you're playing. Do your best to implement these concepts throughout your ranked games. Make sure you're focusing on trying one thing a lot of the time. And don't overwhelm yourself. It's very important to not overwhelm yourself whenever you're practicing these things. And let me know if you have any more questions. But, yeah, for now, that's the video.